Thank you. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the TiE session on BMC and BPS model. TiE is an initiative by TiE Global that's all about igniting the entrepreneurial spirit in college students, guiding them from ideation to investment, and turning their campus ideas into thriving businesses. Our program is designed to provide college startup teams with invaluable learning resources, mentorship from seasoned entrepreneurs, and exciting opportunities to participate in global mentoring sessions, startup boot camps, and pitch competition. These interactions and experiences are the catalysts that help transform their startup dream into a tangible, successful business. And that's why we're here today for our workshop sessions. We have a couple of workshop sessions that are going on. Now, we already had two sessions. The YouTube link is provided here. I'll also share the workshop uh, deck with you guys so that you can just go in and click, or else you can just go to our YouTube channel, that is TiE University, and you'll find these sessions live on our YouTube page. We also today we have the BMC and BPS model by Advait. And then we have two other workshops that will happen that I'll shortly share information with you all. Sorry. So the semifinals and finals of the TiE Global Pitch Competition will be held on April 30th and May 1st at Silicon Valley. It's going to be in hybrid mode. So if by any chance you guys won't be able to travel, don't be upset. We'll have a virtual option also for all of you to present. But we will, of course, would love to see you all in person so that you can get more learnings and more experience from the pitch competition. This is our blue book where you'll need to know and you'll get everything you want to know about the TiE pitch competition this year. You can just go in. We have the link in here. This is also linked in. You can also go in and scan this QR code and you'll be able to access this book. This book will have everything you'll need, and it will give you all the information, the judging criteria, and everything you would want that would help you to prepare for the global pitch competition, may it be a local chapter event or the global event. The prize money for this year, the winner gets $15,000, the first runner-up gets $7,000, and the second runner-up gets $3,000. So yay. I would now hand over the mic to Santosh. He is our very integral part of our TiE leadership committee, and I'll let Santosh introduce Advait for you all today.
Hey, welcome all, and thanks, Garima. Let me introduce Advait Kurlekar. Advait is a very seasoned professional, and a very passionate TiE supporter. He's been championing TiE Nurture in Pune, and I also seen him doing multiple workshops, and especially on this topic of BMC and BPS today. We are excited to hear from him and all the participants here. This will be an worth learning the experience, and also listening from Advait. And over to you, Advait. I'll not take too much time, and look forward for a scintillating session from you.
Thanks, Santosh. Thanks, Garima, for the introductions. Okay, so let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, so we have, like Garima said, quite a lot of content to cover because these two topics, I have done half-day workshops on each of the topic, and now I've been asked to bundle these two into 1 hour. So let me try my luck. So, while this is a webinar and this is remote, let's not, be at the cost of interactivity. So my sincere request to all of you is that if there's anything that you want to ask, something is not clear, something that you read off the screen, or something that I've said is not clear, or you simply do not agree, that's also fine. Please put it on chat and we'll try and answer and take these questions or clarifications, as many as possible as time permits. Garima, you need to help me if there are any questions midway.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me start by talking of business model canvas, and then I'll go to business planning. That's the logical kind of way. Before we talk of business model canvas, let's first understand what is a business model. And business model in its classical definition would mean that it is something that describes the why part of your business, the how part of your business, and the what part of your business. It describes the rationale of how an organization or how your startup would create, deliver, and continuously capture and add value to your customers, your hopefully your paying customers as you move along. So essentially, it describes in terms of the three big questions, the how, what, and why of what you are trying to do in your startup, whether you're a student entrepreneur or you're an established entrepreneur. Every business would need to answer these questions upfront. And then, therefore, a business model canvas obviously is to create and analyze these tools, ask very tough questions on ourselves as startup entrepreneurs in terms of what exactly we are trying to do, whom are we trying to do, what is the value we are trying to give, so on and so forth. So there are a couple of things, in fact, 9 things that we want to capture as far as business model canvas is concerned. In the next 20 minutes or so, we'll try and capture that. So essentially, when it comes to a business model kind of canvas, it can sort of, you can use that to create multiple things. You can, you have to look at it as a working model. It is not something that is cast in stone. Whenever we do workshops, which are physical kind of thing, eventually I will give them a large printout of the template of that business model canvas, as you'll see in the next couple of minutes. And what we say is that whatever thoughts you want to put, you put them on those post-its, different colored kind of post-its, and then stick them in the on the large chart paper, so that your thoughts, as and when they change, you can keep on changing that post-it. Give it some time, give it maybe even a couple of days or weeks, and the third or fourth or fifth or seventh version of your thought process then can be said that, yeah, now you've sort of matured into your thought process as far as what you want to do and answer those three basic questions of what, why, and how of your business. So, like I mentioned, there are 9 building blocks that show a company of how it will deliver value to its customers, of course. And this is what the entire business model canvas is. And normally in the English language, we would read from left to right and top to bottom. They will still read top to bottom, but the business model canvas, we need to read from right to left and not left to right, which means we start with the rightmost on the top, which is the customer segments. Now, there is a lot of confusion in many entrepreneurs' minds, startup founders' minds that I have seen and experienced in terms of what are these customer segments. Now, normally, we always think that customer segment is okay. If I'm a B2C or a D2C brand, then maybe I'm targeting males, or I'm targeting females, or I'm targeting males and females in a particular age group, or I'm targeting certain kind of potential customers in a potential geography, my immediate neighborhood, my state, my county, my country, my continent, whatever it might be. But that's a very usual, but not necessarily correct way of identifying what these segments are. So if male, female, age profile, demographic profile, psychographic profile, geographic vicinity, etc., are not necessarily segments, then what are customers? We need to be very clear that you can segment your customers only if different segments are looking at your product or your service from a different value proposition perspective. So I might be selling my product or my service to both males and females as an example. But if the value I'm providing to a customer, and whether it's a he or a she, is not different, then in my product or service at this point in time, males and females are not different customer segments. In a B2B segment, I might be selling my product or service to a large company, to a medium-sized company, or to a micro and small MSME, as we call it in India, for example. Yeah, so I can sell my product or service to all kind of customers. But the value my potential customers, whether it's a billion-dollar organization or it's a few million-dollar organization or just a small company who just about started making revenue, if the value that they are perceiving from my product or service is same or similar, then to say that I have segmented my customer base into large, medium, and small is just theoretical and it is not right. So segmentation works only if you believe that there is a different value proposition to different segments that you have in your mind. So that's the first part of any business model canvas kind of thing. And that's where what I was coming to, that the value proposition has to be different for different set of customers. And what is this customer value proposition? So basic examples of any customer value proposition at a generic level, and this is doesn't matter whether you are B2B, B2C, D2C, whether your product, service, SaaS, app, this, that, or pure play physical kind of business, it doesn't matter. The value proposition can be one or more of any of the following. One, it can be price, which means you're saying that, hey, customers, come to me, come back to me, keep on coming back to me because I'm the cheapest. Yeah. So your value proposition is price, and the value proposition is I'm the cheapest. And nothing wrong in that. I mean, from a startup perspective, I would rather not go there or not advise any of my mentee companies or startups to sort of pick up this value proposition. But at a theoretical level, there's nothing wrong in this value proposition. Without saying that, you're also saying that if I'm the cheapest, then don't ask me uncomfortable questions about my quality, about my reliability, about my delivery capabilities, so on and so forth. Because my single value proposition is that I'm the cheapest. The second value proposition can be quality, for example. That hey, customers buy from me, keep on buying from me because I am the best in quality. I'm world-class quality. And that's a great value proposition to have, whether it's a quality of product or it's a quality of service. What essentially, again, it means, without saying it as many words, is that therefore don't haggle with me on price. Because quality, great quality, comes at a price, comes at a cost, and that cost will get turned into a price. All of us have got premium products. Many of us would have been using iPhones. Many of us would have seen Sony product, for example. They give 5-year warranty and that kind of thing, but they are expensive. But it's absolutely hassle-free purchase. There is no need for any servicing. There is no need for any repairs because that's the kind of quality promise that they give. That's the value proposition that they give. But they are expensive. We all know that. Other value proposition can be maybe in terms of my product range, that I have a huge product or service range. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. I can serve the budget customers, I can serve the economy customers, and I can serve even the luxury kind of customers who have a high paying kind of propensity. So I have different kind of range of products, unmatched kind of range of products, and that can be a value proposition. Another value proposition can be in terms of my availability, that my customers or potential customers need not travel too much distance. If I'm a physical product, for example, to buy, consume, or experience my product or service. That means I'm available, in large number of, say, physical outlets, or I'm easily available online. And therefore, it's easy to buy, easy to consume, easy to experience my service. So these are just few examples of the value proposition. And depending on the customer segments, in the segments and the value proposition, if the value proposition is different, then of course you're talking about customer segment. Then fine, you have identified and sort of segmented your customers. You have identified individual value propositions for your customers. This is also great. But the next question is, how are you going to reach that value proposition to your customers? What kind of channels that you have? And while you see that the images of a truck, which means that it's a physical product that you need to move from point A, where you are manufacturing that product or producing that product or buying that product from somewhere else to reach your customers. In today's world, it can be an online delivery. So it's the physical truck that you see on the images, that's the notion kind of thing. The question is, what are the different ways and means? What are the different channels where your value proposition will actually eventually reach your customers wherever they are, physically, in the virtual world, in different geographies, so on and so forth. And that again is, you need to think in terms of when you're building your business model canvas. And then, you have your customers, you have segmented them because there's a different value proposition to different customers. You also thought of in terms of how to reach that value proposition to your customers. Then the next part in the business model canvas you need to think is in terms of how are you going to maintain, establish, grow, nurture these relationships that you have. What kind of things that you want to do as part of your business model, where you are maintaining these relationships that you develop over a period of time. When you say relationships, why do you want to maintain relationships? Because across the different products or services that you have, in an ideal world, you want a large number of customers to keep on buying your product or services in a reasonably frequent manner. I mean, if you're selling, for example, bungalows or apartment buildings, then obviously the repeat purchase frequency will be maybe once in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. If you're selling high-end jewelry, maybe the frequency of purchase could be maybe once a year or twice a year. But depending on your product or service, there could be some products or service where your customers, you want them to buy every day, every few hours, twice a week, thrice a week, every month. So it doesn't matter what frequency, because that will determine in terms of what business you are in. But essentially, you want a good part of your customer base to be retained, to be loyal to you and keep on buying. And that's the reason why you need to sort of maintain these relationships. Now the question is, great, you have these 4 things out of 9 that we talked about sorted out in your mind. Question is, can you do this kind of without thinking in terms of how will you start being a business from a startup? Which means if these are the customer segments, if this is the value proposition, if this is the channel in which you're going to reach, and this is the way in which you're going to maintain relationships, is it getting sort of reflected in terms of money? At the end of the day, you have started this, you're a founder of a startup or you want to build a business because eventually you want to make money. The core objective of any business, independent of who you are, what stage you are, has to be, when you say business, core objective has to be making money. And then making money has 2 counts. One is making money in terms of the top line or the revenue, which means these customers and customer segments that you identified better be paying customers and not somebody who's saying, oh, you're a startup, so I know I don't want to pay you. Let me, send me your products or let me experience your service at free of cost. And if I like it, I may think of buying. These things will happen to you as a startup founder, but very soon you need to convert them into paying customers. And therefore, you need to think in terms of what could be the different ways and means, and therefore different streams of revenue in your business model that you can think of. If I'm selling a product, yes, product is a revenue stream. Does the product need some kind of maintenance? Then, okay, AMC or maintenance charges can be another revenue stream. Does the product need any kind of paraphernalia, any kind of peripherals? That can be another revenue stream. If the product needs some installation, some kind of commissioning, then that another can be revenue stream. If I can have associated products kind of thing that because you have bought this, you will need something else, that can be another revenue stream. If I'm selling in today's times, when you buy a new mobile phone, I think these people have stopped selling you the, what's it called, the charging wire and the cable. That can be another revenue stream. You're selling mobile phones, but you also are charging separately. For you're selling an airline, a ticket, but you're selling a seat separately. You're selling meal separately. You're selling priority check-in separately. These are different revenue streams. You're running a cinema theater, but you also have a deli, a cafe. So the food and beverages that you sell outside the cinema theater is a separate revenue stream for the cinema theater or for the mall operator. These are different revenue streams. Now, for all this, question is, what kind of resources that you require? What are the different assets, physical or otherwise, that you require to create your product, to create your service, to help you deliver those products and services to a variety of channels that you've thought of to your customers and your segments to maintain those relationships that we talked about. You also need to think in terms of different kind of resources that you think are real. And then what are the different activities that you need to do that are integral part of your business, which means, things that you want to do, what you believe is core to what your business is, and very clearly things that you are very clear that are required in the business, but you don't want to do, which means you're going to get them outsourced. Yeah, which means, as an example, you have taken up some space as an office space, or if you're manufacturing something, a small shed where you are putting up something kind of thing. If it's a manufacturing plant, you will need some, or an office, you will need some housekeeping. You will need maybe a security service if it's a manufacturing plant to ensure that your goods stored in your factory premises are secure. Now, you may not want the housekeeping staff to be on your payroll. You may not want the security people to be on your payroll. You may not want, as you grow and you have 20, 30, 40 people, and you have to have some, pantry service or whatever kind of thing. You may not want to have that as part of your key activity, but those activities are required. So you need to sort of identify those activities, and in your business model, take a call in terms of make versus buy. How many things that you want to do it yourself, and how many other things that are required in the business, but you may not want to do yourself, and you may want to outsource that. To whom? To key partners that are required in this business. So remember, while you have that great startup idea, you have convinced some of the other people, some of them could be your co-founders, some of them could be your starting team. But remember, you alone cannot run this business. You need key resources. You need to be very clear in terms of what are the different activities that you do. And most importantly, you would need key partners, which means your suppliers, your vendors, your business partners, your accountants, your company secretaries, your people who are helping you hire, your people, like I said, the security service, the housekeeping service, so on and so forth. So these are all required. Your sales channel partners and what have you. So you need to be very clear what are the different kind of partners that you need to help you sort of do all the variety of activities that you've thought of. Some of them you'll do, some of them outsource. You will need key resources to do that so that you can deliver value that you have identified to the segments that you've identified, maintain that relationship, and all in all, of course, generate revenues. But if you have to do these key activities through these key resources, through these key partners, one thing that you have to ensure is that it will come at a cost. And therefore, it is very, very imperative that you identify your cost structure very, very clearly. Time and again, I have seen startup founders to be absolutely clueless about their cost. They are totally clued on in terms of the price, because there are some examples that some other startups or some other established companies are selling their product or service at a particular price. But does it make sense for me to sell my product or service at that price, slightly higher price, slightly lesser price, significantly lesser price, is a policy decision. But cost, unfortunately, is reality. Price is a policy decision. So we as startup founders need to be absolutely clear in terms of our cost structure. Costs are required for the activities that you've identified that you need to perform, for the resources that you've identified that are required to conduct those activities, to pay out your partners that you've identified that are going to help you sort of create that value proposition, deliver that value proposition to the segments that you've identified, maintain your relationships with your customers, and hopefully then your revenues would be slightly higher, or hopefully much higher than the costs that you are incurred in running this business. So that in essence is a very, very quick kind of sort of an executive summary, if I can say, in terms of what the business model canvas is all about. And this is that, what I mentioned that in a physical workshop, I would give this as a printout to the participants, and you can, TiE view office can share this slide with you eventually, or you can look up on Google, and there are printable versions of this available. But then you sort of print this on a A3 size, put it, put up on your whiteboard or put up on your softboard in the office space that you have, and start pasting in, putting in post-it notes in each of these segments. Whether it's customers, whether it's customer relationships, whether it's channels, whether it's the value provided, revenue, cost, key activities, key resources, and key partners. Work on this, keep on working on this, have, like I said, multiple versions and iterations of your thought process. And once you realize that after thinking for quite some time, there is no change in the post-it that you have previously pasted on this sheet, then you know that you are more or less now firmed in terms of your business model through this canvas that has helped you firm up your thoughts in terms of how do you want to deliver value and what is the exactly. And again, those three questions that I said in terms of what, how, and why of your business. So that sort of is a quick exit summary as far as business model canvas is concerned. I'll just take a pause. Garima, are there any questions on this? Or maybe we open up for a couple of minutes for any questions on this before we move to the next topic of business plan.
Yeah, so I think the only question we have is from Naman. He wanted
Yeah.
you to cover the channels again, and he asked what will be the channels for the service-based platform.
Okay. So Naman, if it's a service-based platform, channel can be, service can be delivered physically. Yeah, if you see companies, I'm assuming you are some based somewhere in India, uh, and if you've heard of companies like Urban Clap, Urban Ladder, etc., those kind of thing, they are physical service-based channels. That means they come to your house to clean up, to service your air conditioner. They come to your house to give you a haircut. They come to your house to do deep cleaning of your sofas. They come to your house to clean up your fans, so on and so forth. So that's a physical channel. In a service, there can be an online channel, which means I don't need to be there physically. I can just sort of, with a click of a button from my customers, the service component can reach. I don't need to have my employees or my partners or my employees delivering that service to you. I can have somebody else doing it for that. So channel can be physical, channel can be virtual, channel can be hybrid in a service model. Hope that answers your question. Ganima, anything else?
Not yet. I think, and Naman said he got it. So yeah, all good for now. We can move ahead.
Okay, so now let me come to the next part is in terms of, how do you then now that you're clear in terms of your business model, that you've sorted out, or at least, like I said, after 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 iterations, you realize that the last time you had a change on your post-it note was few days, few weeks back, in spite of giving it a thought. That means you have more or less firmed down your business model. Now, how do you then convert that into a written business plan? And there are several kind of components to the business plan. The first and foremost is, and as part of TiE Pune, we run a program called Nurture, which is a mentoring program, and we do a boot camp, which is an offsite boot camp. It's called a strategy offsite boot camp. And one of the things that we make startups do, with the student startups or non-startups, is, are you clear in terms of vision and vision? Now, mission and vision essentially are like destination statements. Mission is, again, a very, very difficult question that you need to ask yourself is, why do you exist? Not as a human being, not as a person, but why do you exist as a business proposition? What is your mission? In French, and pardon my French, but it's called raison d'etre. Maybe the pronunciation is slightly different for people who know French. But what is the purpose of your business? Why do you exist? And the vision then becomes in terms of, what is your definition of success? What needs to happen, or what are the different 2, 3, 4, 5 things that need to happen? And if they happen, then you will say that, yeah, now you are a successful startup. So you need to envision this, visualize this, and put it in a written statement. That why does this business exist? Why have I started this business? And what is the definition of success in the immediate term for me, next 1, 2, 3 years maybe? And why does this business exist? is a very, very important question because I have seen large number of startups starting with a solution rather than a problem. If you have thought of a solution first and then are now trying to say that, okay, how do I grow and sustain my business? In my view, unfortunately, that's a wrong starting point. You have to start your startup with a problem statement, that what is the problem that you have identified, which you believe you hopefully have a unique solution, a better solution than some other solutions available in the market today to solve that problem, which means the reason for existence of your startup has to be solving the problem rather than selling your solution that you have in mind. So please do not start your thought process with a solution. Please start your thought process with the problem. That will help you identify your vision. That will also help you articulate what your vision should be. And I'm just given some basic examples of some of the more what should I say, well-known companies that we are aware of, which is Uber, Pinterest, and WeWork. WeWork may not be the best of examples in today's times, but still they had these kind of vision statements. So they're very clear in terms of why do they exist as a business. And these are some of the other examples in terms of again, well-known examples, not necessarily startups this time, Disney, IKEA, and Oxfam, in terms of how have they very crisply, clearly articulated their vision statements in terms of definition of success. Again, I'm not saying this is the best examples. I'm just sharing some examples from the startup world as from established kind of business world, just to give you an idea in terms of what mission and vision statements would mean. Garima, you interrupt me as and when there is somebody who wants to ask a question, please.
Yeah, so we do have a question from Shreya.
Yeah,
She said that you mentioned having a ready revenue model,
yeah.
but for startups in the manufacturing businesses, where can you get the actual product cost only after the deployment of machinery and scale up? How do you find the cost in early stage?
For a manufacturing organization.
Right.
Yeah. So there are ways and means to find out. You need not. For a manufacturing organization, cost structure will be a function of scale. Yeah. If you want to develop a prototype, which is all obviously required before you take your product to the market, the actual cost of that would be much higher because all your vendors are going to charge you more because you're just going to buy one product, one component, one screw, one bolt, or few square inches of something, or few square feet, or few kilograms rather than tons. But I think what you need to work with your vendors is three or four different situations. That instead of one, what if I buy 100? What will be the costing me? If I instead of 100, if I buy 1,000 at one go, what will be the costing? And then therefore you will be able to identify. Then in manufacturing there is material cost, there is a value addition cost which has two components. I'm assuming there'll be some kind of machining or automation that is required, and obviously there'll be some labor involved. You need to identify those as well. There are other overheads that you may or may not have. Normally, there are always some overheads that you have there. And then, of course, that's the cost. Beyond that, if you want to add and top up with some kind of additional things, which is your profit, and that then becomes your price, which is a cost plus model. But like I said, in a manufacturing startup, you need to work out on three or four different scenarios. I buy one or two or three or four. I buy 100 or 150 or 200, and I buy 1,000, 2,000. What are the different cost structures for my vendors? Hope I have answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for now. If anyone has any questions, feel free to write in chat, or you can do the Q&A part of the Zoom webinar, and we'll take it on.
Yeah. Okay. Then the business plan also needs to have a section on what I call company description, which is different, or ideally, it should be different from the next part that we want to talk about, which is your product or service description. When we meet somebody new at a social event, at a party, while traveling, while sharing a cab, whatever, we very casually ask, hey, what do you do? And we give a very casual answer that, I do this. Now ask, in real life, that's unfortunately the most difficult question to answer. That what do you do? So you need to be very clear in terms of what do you do as a business, not what your product does, not what your service does, but what do you do as a business. And therefore, the company description becomes a very important part of your business plan, summary, business plan document. I'm just I've taken the liberty of going to our own website. I run a consulting company, and therefore this is our website. And this essentially is the story. So if somebody says, what do you do? Or describe your company, then this is what you would look into. I have taken the liberty of going on the TiE website. And again, the same thing. What does TiE do as a company, as a business? I mean, we are an NGO, non-profit, but still a legal entity. What does it do? Then the website can describe. So if you have a website, and I'm sure all of you need to, will do, and will have it. If you already don't have, then the company description part is very, very important, because that tells you the story in terms of what exactly you do as a business, as a company. Then the third thing which is important as part of your business plan summary document is your product or service description. We are most comfortable here because that's where we've started with. And that's where I said we normally start with the solution. We start with a hammer and then trying to find nails everywhere. That can't be the situation. You need to be clear at the cost of repetition. I'm saying go for identify a problem you're solving first and then say, how are you going to solve it through your product or service? And therefore, product or service description is very, very important. That if you are in a product, like somebody said, manufacturing, what is the product that you are doing? If you are in a service business, whether it's B2B, B2C, etc., it doesn't matter, then what exactly is the service that you're offering? You need to be very, very clear in terms of what exactly is that. Again, I'm taking liberty of going to one of the companies of one of our senior chartered investors from Pune, Ravi Nigam. His company used to be Tasty Bite, now of course acquired by Mars. And this is what, if you see the kind of thing, this is the different kind of products that they are offering. Yeah. Going to another kind of, not a startup, but a business which I'm working with, which is poultry business, the Ravi and Chicken. And on their website, again, they've given just one page, but obviously they've given entire, if you see our products kind of tab there, then obviously it talks about what are different kind of products that they are offering, description of their product. Next part, which is critical, and we often sort of, this is where we go sort of, what should I say, over the top as far as the opportunity assessment is concerned. But you need to be very clear in terms of the market that you are operating in, the industry segment that you're operating in, the sector you're operating in, the geography that you're operating in, and do a very detailed analysis of that market. Now, in the startup world, we all have those, those concentric circles called TAM, SOM, TAM, TOM, SAM, whatever you want to call them. But be realistic in terms of what you're trying to say. The other important part in market analysis is that all of us as startup founders would like to believe that we are so unique in this world that nobody has thought through what we want to do. Therefore, there is no competition. And therefore, we want to create this concept, we want to create this demand, and we're going to have the first mover advantage. Maybe so, but more often than not, you'll realize that you are not the first mover. You're not the only person in the world. Perhaps you may not be the only person in your locality also who has thought of this idea. So be realistic when you're looking at what kind of market opportunity is there in terms of the size, in terms of what are the trends, in terms of how large, how quickly the market is growing, not growing, what kind of overall opportunities there, is it profitable opportunity, what is the kind of cost structure that exists in the industry, what are the distribution channels, online or physical, that you may have, and what are the critical success factors that are important for your product or service, for your industry, for your sector, for your market, that are important, without which, or without the identification of which, you'll be sort of looking at that. And therefore, what are the different applications of your product or service in the market? So, I mean, this is not necessarily exhaustive, but these are just few pointers in terms of how do you want to analyze that market. And then, of course, there are a variety of management frameworks and management tools in terms of how do you want to analyze that market. Very commonly, on a macro basis, we have something called test and analysis. I don't want to go into each of these details, but just to give you this thing, which is political scenario, economic, social, technology, environment, and legal. Essentially, these are the different factors that may positively, neutral, or negatively affect your future of your business. And therefore, it's important for you to analyze that. There is this value chain analysis that is available. There are these five forces kind of framework, which is that, okay, who are your buyers? And between you and your buyers, which is your customers, where is the center of gravity? Where is the power equation between you and your buyers? Again, you and your suppliers are there. Where does the center of gravity lie? Are they more important? Are you more important? Where does the power equation lie? What about competition? More importantly, what about substitutes? So on and so forth. What is the chance of new entrants? How easy or difficult it is to enter your industry? Like I said, you may or may not be the first mover. You may or may not be the first in the industry, but how easy or difficult it is to operate in that market. And then variety of marketing mix, started with 4 Ps, 5 Ps, could be 7 Ps, somebody might commit 8 or 10 Ps. That's not an issue. Essentially, what you're saying is that you need to analyze your market, analyze your industry, analyze the market you're operating, the industry sector that you're operating, through a variety of ways and means. These are some examples that you can look into. This again is fifth most important part, very important because like many startup founders, essentially all of us eventually would like to go for funding. And it is a misnomer, it is a myth that funding people, whether it is angels or whether it is VCs or whether it is Ps or whatever, or any other name you can think of, it is a misnomer, it's a myth, it's a misunderstanding that they loved the idea so much that they invested in my money, in my company. Yes, of course, they love the idea. They believe that the idea is scalable. They believe that there is future. They believe that you've hit the right kind of things. But never forget that they are investing as a startup founder in you and your team. So why am I saying this? Because there are enough and more startups who in the startup world, we all want to say, have pivoted. What does pivoted mean? That I started with this idea. I started working on that idea. And then somewhere I realized that maybe it's not the best thing to move forward. And therefore I changed my idea, changed my startup business from X to Y. In normal, simple terms, without shutting down operations. So I killed that idea and I've started with a new idea. But who started? The same me. In all probability, if I already have a team, then it is the same team now who says, oh, we were sort of happily working on idea X. Now all of us believe that idea X is bad, and therefore all of us want to now work on idea Y. What has not changed? You as a startup founder, and if you have a co-founder, and maybe one or two key team members. What does this mean? That the funding people are putting their funds on you. That you seem to be a great person, you seem to be a great team. Doesn't matter whether you started with an idea X, now you believe that idea Y is better, not an issue, we'll still have faith in you. And therefore, the management team is very, very critical. And therefore, having a very, very credible team, having a very well-balanced team, having a team which has complementary skill sets is absolutely important. And you need to put that as part of your business plan. And therefore, there are a variety of things that are important in terms of, be clear in terms of your ownership structure. We have an advisory board. Who are the different functions? Who's taking? How have you distributed different responsibilities? Do your team, you and your team, do they have the relevant skills? Do they have the relevant experience? If you have a team, are the reporting relationships very clear? You need to be very clear in terms of what kind of team you have. I'm just picked up this example from one of the startups that were working with us as I don't know. So it's very clear that who's the team, what is their experience, what are they functionally responsible for, and hopefully this should create that all aspects of the business that are required that you have believed that you are going to do it yourself is are taken care of in terms of the team. Any questions? I can see the chat number increasing, so very much.
Yes, so we do have one question.
Yeah.
Does the first mover advantage really work, especially in India?
Okay, so there is no correct answer to this question. Whoever is asking this question, first mover advantage works if it's really a first mover advantage. More often than not, the new concept is second mover advantage, because then you will learn from all the mistakes that the first mover has done and at their cost, and then you sort of already know that these are the things that we should not do, and therefore you work on it. So there is no correct answer to this question. Sometimes it works, sometimes it may not work. My personal view, more often than not, the second mover advantage works better. Anything else, very much?
No, that's about.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Then once the management team is in place, next part of your business plan summary has to be your marketing plan. That how are you going to, again, I'm saying marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing is a subset of overall marketing. It can't be the only thing that you are trying to. So, what is the marketing plan that you have in mind? How would the entire world know, or at least the relevant part of your world know that you exist? This is what you have. This is the problem you're solving. This is the solution you have in terms of your product or service. This is the team that you have. These are the challenges that you have, so on and so forth. And therefore, we need to be very clear in terms of going through the motions, in terms of creating that marketing plan, creating your marketing strategies, identifying different kinds of marketing mix. Some of this, or a good part of this, would need money. So you might need, if you've not yet got funded or you're bootstrapped, you're short of funds, you may want to go slow on this. You may want to be much more realistic in terms of what you want to do. Yeah. So the first set of marketing kind of thing always has to be what I call FFP, which is friends and family plan, which means it's a low cost way of reaching out to people you know, your friends, your family members, first level influence, second level kind of connects, third level connects, friend, that kind of thing, because that's the best way to sort of start working the market without spending too much money. But otherwise, as you grow, you will need to think about a very robust kind of marketing plan, digital or otherwise, depending on the product. Again, I'm just giving a simple example. This is again available on the net. This is what, in some part, in initial years, was Starbucks kind of marketing strategy or marketing plan. Then your business plan also needs to be very clear in terms of your key operations. Remember the business model canvas in terms of key activities, key partners, key resources, that part. This is the operations. That whatever product or service that you have, whatever business you have, how is it actually going to operate? How is it going to actually run? So suppose you are an online kind of marketplace, or you are selling a product that is available only online. The chosen channel is only online. Great, not an issue. You put up a website, you use some marketing means so that I, as a potential customer, am aware of you. I go to your website, I browse through the website, I like a product, there is a cart available, I select the product, there is a payment gateway available, which is one of your key partners in your BMC. And eventually I hit the pay button and I buy. Now what happens? What is the backend that happens, because of which, lo and behold, later today, tomorrow, couple of days, couple of weeks, your product reaches wherever the address I have given to you, my home, my office, somebody else, etc., etc. So what is the backend that happens? That happens because of which this transaction will get completed? You need to be very clear in terms of what that. This is again one of our mentee companies in Pune, my mentee, a couple of years ago. And from their website, they have on the website itself, they have made it very clear. This is a service. They do teacher skills analytics, as it is very clear. And they have given out the process by which they will conduct this. They will do this analysis. So they put it out on their website in terms of how will they do it? What are the operations in there? Next part is again be very realistic in terms of what is normally called a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. One way to look at it is that strengths and weaknesses are internal to you, your current business. Opportunities and threats are outside, external. Yeah, that means there are opportunities that exist in the market out there, and some of those opportunities we are uniquely placed to leverage on those opportunities. There are a large number of threats out there in the market. Some of those threats might be relevant to us also. Some could be generic to everybody. Some could be unique to us. Some threats may not be unique, relevant to us. Same thing for opportunities. The other way to look at it is that the S and O part is the positive side of looking at things, and the W and T is in a way a negative side of looking at things. That means we need opportunity to improve, OFR, opportunity for improvement. That we are weak, there are these existing threats in the market, and therefore we have thought of it, and there are risk mitigation strategies that we can think of. So we need to be very clear. And again, general tendency of startup founders is to blow up your strengths, blow up these opportunities, that Tam Tom Song kind of thing that I talked about earlier. Be realistic. I mean, whoever is reading this pitch of yours, this business plan summary of yours, this document of yours, assume that he or she is much wiser, much experienced, much knowledgeable than what you can ever think of. And therefore, if you sort of blow up your strengths, or put some strengths as weaknesses. I'm a workaholic. I really am dedicated to my kind of thing. That's my weakness. I mean, people will see through this. So, be realistic, be honest, be truthful to yourself first, and then to others in terms of how do you want to portray these SWOT. This again, some work that we had done in my consulting company for Coca-Cola in some geographies, where we had done this kind of quick SWOT analysis for that company, just as an example. Then again, I go back to the statement I just made a couple of seconds ago: be realistic. Yeah, there is in terms of revenue projections. Revenue projections, going back to the BMC, hopefully you've identified different revenue streams, and therefore you have projected how each of those revenue streams will grow in the next 12, 24, 36 months. And therefore, cumulatively as a business, as a company, how do your revenues look like? Again, there are three ways of looking at it. You can put three scenarios. PRO, it is called: pessimistic, realistic, optimistic. So be very clear that are these projections pessimistic? That's the worst case scenario. That means there is no downside further to this. Or is it realistic, that taking into consideration we are being truthful, honest to ourselves, or we are totally gaga and we are optimistic, and therefore there will not be an upside to this revenue. There will be only a downside to this revenue should something not work in our favor. Be very clear what kind of revenue projections you are doing. Again, I'm just giving a simple example of somewhere else that we work with in terms of income statement, P&L statement, and a projection in terms of for this kind of startup. This is absolutely critical for all startup founders to understand. One of the weakest points for any startup founder typically is the understanding the financial part of it, understanding how money works. Cash flow statement is very critical. If you are slightly weak on understanding finance, you need to have somebody else in your team who does that better for you, and be very clear in terms of where the money is coming from. Imagine that you have started a business. There is money in your bank account. Just because there is money in your bank account does not necessarily mean that you are a profitable company. I'm repeating, if you're running a business, you have opened a bank account and there is reasonable good money in that bank account, does not necessarily mean that you are a profitable business. Second part, vice versa might also be true. Because you think you are a profitable business, your chartered accountant has created a profit and loss statement and shown that the end of the year, last year, or end of this year, come 31st March 2024, you will make a handsome or a reasonable profit, does not necessarily mean that you have money in your account. And that is the beauty of financial statements. And that is something that you need to understand very, very clearly, which means you need to be very clear that where and how each day, each week, each month, actual money is coming in. Now, when you say cash flow, cash is not cash as in physical cash. Obviously, in today's time, it is not. Cash means money inflow and money outflow. And every day, every week, every month, in an ideal world, the money inflow should exceed your money outflow. Only then your cash flow statement will be positive. And the net cash flow that you're seeing in terms of the second last row on this chart is positive. It means overall cash inflow is more than overall cash outflow. When I say cash, it is money, not cash as in cash. Three things that you need to remember from a cash flow. One, that there is cash flow from operating activities. That means from your core business. If you start making positive cash flow from your core business, only then you can invest that money into your own business, what is called investing activities. Or if you have taken any loans, and it's not so uncommon today in today's world for startups to take loans, banks do give them, financial institutions do give them. Only if there is a positive cash flow from your core operations, core business, you can start repaying that loan or paying interest on that loan, which is the financing activities. So be very clear in terms of your cash flow. Garima, is there any question or clarification?
Yes, so we do have one more question, a little big one. So, does having uniqueness in the business really matter if the market is very large? Because at a certain point, you cannot differentiate your startup from others already in the market. For example, when Flipkart entered, the only differentiation was their cash on delivery feature, which was later adopted by Amazon as well. Hence, there was no differentiation later. So, basically, does having uniqueness really matter if the market is that big?
If the market, so uniqueness helps. It doesn't matter, it helps. And more importantly, the uniqueness has to be real. That uniqueness has to be tangible. That uniqueness has to be measurable. And that uniqueness has to create some kind of impact. If you can't find a real, measurable, tangible kind of uniqueness, but as you say, if the market is large enough, then it doesn't matter. Like I said, uniqueness is important, it helps. But if it's a large market, then in a way you are in a lifestyle business. That means, there is enough and room for more, you and many more other people to be in that business because the opportunity is large, the perceived opportunity is large. But just creating something which is unique for the sake of uniqueness will not fly. It has to, like I said, it has to be real, it has to be tangible, and not from your perspective. It has to be from your potential customers' perspective. That they need to feel, they need to be very clear, they need to acknowledge that whatever you're doing is really unique. And it may not be in whole, it can be in parts. One part of it, like the example you only gave, that the COD part was unique at that point in time. So that gave, and why did they come out with COD? Because they understood the Indian market and the Indian consumer psyche better. If I want to buy online, there are enough and more frauds happening. So I don't want to pay upfront. Let the product come, let it get delivered to my doorstep. I will see, and if once I'm convinced that whatever I bought is what I've got delivered, happy to pay. That was the consumer psyche, and therefore it worked. Then everybody picked on it. It was no longer unique. But that gave them initial advantage. So uniqueness has to result in a competitive advantage but it also has to result in what is called a sustainable competitive environment. I offer COD, and then, like in your example, Amazon also started offering COD. It is no longer sustainable competitive advantage. It worked for 1 day, 2 day, 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, till somebody else also started doing the same thing. Then it is just a tactical thing rather than a strategy. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we have a follow-up question, but can you share how can we convey this while pitching to investors?
Could be what?
Uh, the uh, the upper question that how do uniqueness in the business really matter?
So it is not a question of conveying to investors, it's a question of actually being there. If it is there, then you don't need to take special efforts to convey. If you're creating that unique advantage for the sake of creating the unique advantage, you need to take efforts to convince others, yeah, this is the unique advantage. If it is so clear, and if you can demonstrate that nobody else has this at this point in time, and why it is sustainable, it cannot be short term. Why it is sustainable? For example, I don't know if any of you, the student entrepreneurs here, are from a science background, and therefore, if your startup is related to technology or startup is related to something which is research driven, then you have that unique advantage that I've already spent so much time on this research, and therefore I have that unique advantage. I have that first mover advantage, and therefore it is sustainable at least for the next couple of years till others catch up. But by then I have moved to something else. Then you don't need to convince. It will be very, very obvious that yes, you have a unique advantage. Anything else, Garima?
Sorry, yes. If you're getting a product that already exists in the market but is not aware to customers, which is only available in foreign countries, not in India. So basically, it's a follow-up to the above questions where we were discussing the uniqueness model, I think.
Yeah. So if the product is available only in foreign countries and it's not available in India, then and if that product is unique, that it is not available because if you bring it here or you make it here, then there is no other comparative product. Then that is your uniqueness. Till somebody also has the same idea and start doing it like what you are doing. Question is, if you're trading, if you're importing and selling, unless you have a exclusive arrangement with the company from whom you're importing, it's an exclusive arrangement, then there is a unique advantage to you. That it's a license you've got. Then nobody else can bring the same product in the same geography that you're operating because you have exclusive rights. Then that advantage, that competitive advantage, is sustainable till your license is with you. If it is a non-exclusive kind of arrangement, then I see you importing that product. I also import the same product and start selling it. And then unfortunately we play a price war. So it is okay as long as you have exclusive rights to it.
Got it. Thanks, Adit. The last question for now we have is if you're not having any revenue currently, do we have to anticipate the revenue and the cash flow and give a projection?
Yeah, I mean, every company will have a no revenue period. The endeavor for every startup founder is to minimize that no revenue period. Like I mentioned earlier, initially, because we are startups, some companies will take undue advantage of us as a startup founder and say, I will experience your product or service. I will quote unquote buy your product or service. But when I say buy, I'm not going to pay any money to you. So give me free of FOC, free of charge. And if I am happy, then I will give a small order, which is a pilot. And if that is happy, then I will convert that into a commercial order. So very standard three-phase kind of revenue generation is the FOC, pilot, and a commercial order. As long as you're able to minimize the first two, you start making revenues. So till then, you anyway need to do these projections in terms of how soon you will be able to make those revenues. And once, if without the revenues, when you say cash flow, there is only cash outflow because there is no cash inflow coming. The only other cash inflow without the revenues can come in terms of investments. That somebody is putting in money in your business, which is the cash inflow. But yes, you need to work out those projections even before you start making revenues.
Perfect. That's all the questions for now.
Okay, I think I also am coming to my last disclaimer slide. And then finally, you need to create multiple versions of your business plan. When I say multiple versions, we are not playing with numbers. It's a question of who is this business plan audience? Whom are you working this business plan for? So multiple versions does not mean that in one version I'm saying I'll earn $100 next month. In some other version, I'm going to move that 100 to 500. I'm not saying that. It's just a question of how detailed you want to go. So there is a business plan summary, mini plan, there's a basic working plan, and a very detailed plan. If somebody, like somebody asked this question, if somebody is seriously interested, the conversation becomes serious in terms of potential investment, then your potential funder will want to go through all possible details of your business plan, and a 5-page document or a 10-page document may not necessarily work. And that's the different kind of thing. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope we've exceeded time. So sorry about that, and hope any more questions, happy to take them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Advait. If anyone has any questions, you can type it in chat, or if you wanna, even if you wanna talk, we can allow you to talk. So you can, I think, raise your hand or write in chat, and we can like let you come on stage. And so Naman has a question. Investors often request a 5 year or 10 year exit plan during the investment process. However, predicting how you will provide an exit to your investors 5 to 10 years is very difficult. Can you please explain how to create that document?
So, Naman, this is the point of discussion today was creating a business plan or business plan summary, the second part of the presentation. What you are looking at is creating a pitch document, where then you will ask, the last document in a pitch, last slide on a pitch document would be your ask that I need so and so rupees. I know I need so many dollars. I need so many rupees, lakh rupees, crores, whatever. And then question is, okay, if I invest this, what is the exit plan? So in your pitch document for an investor, there has to be a section in terms of an exit plan. Then when do you think you will allow, or it will be physically possible for your early investors to exit and a new set of investors to come? That will happen depending on whom are your first set of investors. And these terminologies that we use, and perhaps Santosh would be a better person to talk about that, is in terms of Series A, B, C, etc., is where, because different funding people have different appetite. I might say that, look, up to 50 lakh to 1 crore, 2 crore, I will fund. If you need 5 crores, I'm not into that game. The people who invest 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 crores will say, if you want 1 or 2 crores, don't come to me. You're too early. Go to somebody else. And that's how the series of exits will happen. Santosh, please correct me if I'm going wrong somewhere.
No, no, absolutely spot on. And at different, every level is different, like from angel round to, say up to series A, series B, and goes on and on. So,
Yeah.
but different strategies will be needed for different levels. So, as a budding entrepreneurs, because you all are mostly university students here, I think the focus should be to, build a sustainable model which can be attracted by angel funding and then probably scale it further. That's why my advice to a lot of young startups here.
Yeah.
One last point, because I have been dealing with a lot of valuation, because the moment you open Economic Times, it's all about valuation. But I am telling a lot of entrepreneurs to show value, and then the valuation will follow.
Yeah. Okay. Garima, all yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think if anyone has any more questions, we are also gonna you have our email, you can email us and we can connect you to Advait. Uh, as we wrap up the session, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude, Advait, for your exceptional sessions. Uh, it's really, thank you so much for your time, energy, and the wealth of knowledge you brought to the table. I hope it helped all of our students, and I'm sure they'll be learning more once they also go on the YouTube channel and revise it a bit more before their local pitch competition and the global pitch competition. So thank you so much for giving us this session today.
Thank you, Garima. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
And thanks,
Thanks,
Santosh.
Garima. Thank you. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone. Take care. I'll come back to
Bye.
you with the next session's registration link shortly. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Advait.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.